and welcome to This Car Pod.
I'm Kennan.
I'm Doug.
And I'm Nick.
Whoa, and Kennan is dressed up today.
Yes, it's Halloween.
It's Halloween, everybody.
I'm wearing my Senna costume.
And Kennan is Senna today, his personal hero. He's finished the race and he's changed into his hat.
Yes, one of the great ironies. He was very fast. I'm very slow.
True. Okay, we have a lot to discuss today. It's Halloween. We have a spooky podcast.
Ooh. I want tricks.
No, I'm kidding. We have a normal podcast. Give us the first news story. This is the biggest news story of the week. Unquestionably, Subaru in Japan, in Tokyo, has previewed a new STi concept car. Did you see this?
That's interesting because they said they weren't going to make an STi version of the current WRX, correct?
I think that was said, and it certainly has been true so far, right? The new WRX came out in 21. At the end of 21 is when I reviewed it. And it has been I love the new WRX, but it's been a bit of a letdown in the sense that they didn't do a hatchback, they didn't do a wagon, and they didn't do an STi.
True.
This is all of those.
It's got the box fenders. I love that rear arch treatment there.
Yeah,
it's giant wing. It's in the correct color for a WRX.
And it is a manual transmission and a hatchback. Now, at this same auto show, Subaru also previewed an electric hatchbacky concept car thing, and they said this is the future of our STi brand. But I think I speak for all of us when I say that I hope that this is the future of the STi brand.
The only thing electric in this car is going to be the vape pen. Like, we do not need an EV.
I have to say, I have been a little bit disappointed with Subaru's decision here. For one thing, not to do the hatchback. Subaru did the hatchback in 2011, 2012. It wasn't a huge seller, and they said, okay, we're done. We're just going to do sedans. That's what the American market wants, which I think there was a time when that was true. However, since then, Audi RS6 has come back as a hatchback. The E63 wagon now outsells the sedan. The GR Corolla has shown up and been a big success. Since Subaru made this decision, the Focus and the Fiesta ST both came and went, and they were quite popular. Those cars got ditched for reasons beyond the success of the performance model. Right. And I think that there's a real business case for going back to the hatchback situation.
Some would say they could dominate an unfulfilled niche right now. So it's a very good time to bring it back.
I mean, I don't think it's not entirely unfulfilled because we have the GR Corolla, we have the Golf R, but this would be good competition to those cars. Now, it can't have this wing.
What? No, it can't, but it will later on anyway. People will take inspiration from this on eBay. They will put these on them anyway.
That's true. It can't come out of the factory like this, even though we know this is what people are going to do. I got to tell you, it's also the hatchback thing is important too because Subaru, a lot of Americans don't realize this, but Subaru does sell the new WRX in virtually every other overseas market as a hatchback, and it's called either the Lavorg or the WRX Sportsback or various things. I even looked it up. I was looking it up today. They sell it in Chile and Peru.
Chile gets it, but we don't.
They just made this product planning decision, Americans don't like hatches. Right as the hatch it was like the Xterra. It's like right as the hatch started to take off, they were like, we're done.
They always have like a 5-year latency. They're just behind like knowing exactly what
Do you think it is that they don't think there's demand, or is it a regulatory or otherwise compliance related problem?
No, I mean, they sell the Crosstrek, which is a lifted version. So like what's the issue with you already make the powertrain. I'm not even necessarily asking for an STi, although it'd be cool, obviously, this car. But even a WRX wagon, I think going back to that would be really cool. Those are my favorite WRXs from the old days. But this is incredible. I mean, this really is the STi that we've all wanted for many, many, many years. It's been 5 years since there was an STi.
Yep. So Subaru, if you're listening, do it. Bring it here.
It'd be cool. I think it'd be cool. I think it would succeed. Subaru abandoned STi, I have a suspicion, because that's not what they wanted their brand to be in the US. They were going after the Forester and the Outback and the families and the dog people and Costco shoppers. But let's do this. They're so well known for it, and it's so beloved. And apparently this has a flat four, a turbo flat four.
And it is a good example of like a halo car. So when people do get the boring Foresters and Imprezas, they can at least think, oh, it's a performance car. It's used for rallies. Like, it seems silly to have such an obvious halo and not.
I agree. They have an obvious halo. STi has been the halo for so many years. It was such a big deal. And then they just kind of left it. And what's even weirder is now they're previewing a concept version. It's like, okay, are you abandoning this or are you going to do it?
If I were them, I'd be doing 22Bs and going all in on that. But if we're not going to get that, an STi is a no.
And
it's a trim level.
There was the S209, which was like a $70,000 Impreza. It's so weird to me that they preview this as a concept. It doesn't really seem concept-y. This seems like a production car.
Maybe they knew they were going to do this all along, and they were like waiting for the later model years of the WRX to like get people excited about.
But it's been years. I mean, you would think they would have done that like the year after or the next year or something like that.
It's kind of falls in the end of the product cycle thing, if that's really what they're going
Typically,
for.
STIs have not been that, though. The 02 WRX was the first WRX in the States, and they had an STI by 04. And that was the very beginning, where they weren't even sure if the WRX would be a hit. And they came to just 2 years later with a STI. This would be 5 years later.
I love this thing.
Different people, different product strategies. But I really hope that they build it, and I hope it comes.
And we need the box fenders.
I hope so, too. I think the fenders are really cool. Maybe they're seeing what GR Corolla can do, or has done, and they're interested in being a part of that. Manual transmission.
I'm seeing people in GR Corollas that don't look like enthusiasts.
Can I posit that that's because it's probably not a GR Corolla, but you've mistaken a Corolla? No. Regular Corolla hatchback.
The 3 exhausts and the little Gazoo racing thing. I know my Toyota.
Sure,
I'm a Toyota truck guy.
Sure,
I think you're a
Toyota truck guy. In what way?
I admire Land Cruisers from a distance.
You know, there's a short going around right now of you saying that people who buy Tacomas hate America.
They do. I mean, no.
Give us the next.
It's very unclear. Let me just tell you what, they don't have cowboy holders in their dashboards.
We haven't talked about that yet.
I know, but we're going to.
Okay, the next big news story, I think one of the biggest news story of the week. General Motors announced this week that an eyes-off version of Supercruise is coming. That's a huge deal.
That's a very big deal.
Supercruise, of course, is their self-driving, or they want to say driver assist, but at this point, we can start calling it self-driving, I think. And in the video previewing this, or the photo, there's a woman watching TV as her Escalade IQ drives down the street.
Wow.
And I love Supercruise, and I think it works wonderfully. And I think that the big drawback is that you have to always be looking forward. Have you guys used any of these systems?
No.
The ones that are eye monitoring, if you look down at your phone for even 2 seconds, it's like bing, and it's like, well, the whole point of this is so that I can be on my phone, right? Like, if we're being honest, isn't that like why we're trying to do driver assist? Like, if we're being
you would think.
Yes, for most people, yes, I would say that's it.
The fact that this is a possibility, they're saying a couple more years, 28, that's really appealing.
Are there no regulatory hurdles around this that they had to clear?
My assumption is that the primary regulatory hurdle is that they have to then accept liability in the case of accidents.
Which seems scary.
But remember how Supercruise works. It only works on mapped roads. So you can't just turn it on. It only works on roads that they themselves have mapped out. And so with that in mind, they probably have a pretty good knowledge of, hey, because it's really only freeways and some higher speed, like state highways and US highways.
More open highways.
Well, it's not like you can just do it in the city. GM won't take liability for that, I assume. But if you're on the 5, they know how it turns. You know, this is not new. Nothing is new about these freeways.
Right, and it's more predictable what's going to happen as opposed to streets where there are kids running around and soccer balls or squirrels or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, working in advertising, I can only imagine how many people had to sign off on this image, specifically demonstrating no eye contact, no hand on the wheel, watching TV. Like, they knew GM is not like willy-nilly about this. So
that's a good point.
They
just
did this.
Showing this picture is like them saying, we're going to do this. And the lawyers were probably
but they're like, the lawyer's like, make sure the phone's far away from me. Don't quite want to make that jump.
Heaven forbid you're on a phone while you're watching a movie.
Well, you're the guy who's talking on the phone in the movie theater. That's who it is.
No.
I am very encouraged. As a guy who does a lot of long distance driving on the freeway, I'm very encouraged by this, and I think it could be really, really cool. And if GM does it, and Mercedes-Benz has also said that they might do something like this in the future, it would be really big for long-haul drivers.
Definitely.
Nick could pop into his Escalade IQL, and
wouldn't that be nice?
No. You know, I was in Washington, D.C. this week. You know what the best part was? Didn't see a single Escalade IQL. They're all over here.
Yeah, they really are.
They're all over. And it is just such a ridiculous vehicle.
You know, it's funny because everyone thought the Hummer EV SUV would take off, and you never see those.
Yeah.
But you're seeing the IQ everywhere. So it's like, okay, they had the right concept, but everyone wanted the Escalade, not the Hummer.
I don't get who buys them, because liberals don't want a Cadillac Escalade and Republicans don't want an electric car. So who is this crossover that's not only that, it's the most in your face of all of that stuff.
It is
weighs
very flashy.
10,000 pounds and it costs $100,000 and it's the biggest car on the road.
It's yet again that Orange County crossover. It's like Republicans
it works in San
who live
Diego.
in Southern California, and it works. It plays here.
I still think my theory that I posited to the group thread, that everyone deep down wants a full-size Range Rover. People just aren't willing to accept it. And so an IQ is a falling short vehicle. It says,
Not Doug.
I wanted the full-size Range.
Dude, have you been in a
I got an Escalade because I didn't want to be too flashy or what have you.
Doug wants
I didn't want to be
Sequoia.
too flat.
You're trying to curate a Cayman GT4 nucleus theory with the new Range. I'm going to tell you something.
Dude, The new range is everything.
It's just not that. It's
little-
a lovely automobile, and
The Cadillac DeVille taillights, the long vertical slits, perfection.
It's fine. Some of us, we drive Toyota Sequoia built in Texas. We love America. And some of us want our European
Fancy Euro
hates America.
I think what you're trying to say is some of us are willing to admit we want the Range Rover. The rest of us are liars.
No, dude, I've had 2 Ranges. I will not.
Those are not the same. An L322 is not
It
the
was
same.
when I had it.
Yes, but we've come a long way.
Give us the next news story. I don't know. It's on a tangent. Oh,
Infiniti.
2006 Infiniti G35 sedan. This is a G35.
Breaking news.
Takeover.
I
I assume that's what the story is, yes?
No, believe it or not, Infiniti has announced that they are returning with a sedan.
Wow.
Which is
Nice.
unbelievable because they just recently canceled their midsize SUV, which is kind of like the whole thing.
Right. So they're deciding to cancel a platform that could potentially be popular with one that definitely won't be.
Hey, Kennan, raise your hand if you didn't know that Infiniti didn't already make a sedan currently.
Infiniti stopped doing the Q50 after the 24 model year, although I'm sure there are still some left.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. They're gettable.
But the remaining cars in Infiniti's lineup are now only the QX60, which is a midsize 3-row SUV, and the QX80, which is a full-size 3-row SUV. They've even canceled the QX50, which is their kind of small midsize. That was like the X3 competitor. And the X3 and GLC and Q5 are probably the biggest sellers for those brands. And Infiniti doesn't even have a rival. And they're saying instead of putting research effort into that, we're going to go after a sedan.
Infiniti's not
Nice.
in a good spot. I mean,
Do they just live under a rock or in a bunker?
well,
Where they
think
don't
about
know
it.
what else is going on.
Nissan's the parent company. Nissan's in dire strait. Infiniti is kind of like their sub-brand. So if the main company's not getting enough R&D, imagine what being a subsidiary.
I have a
is.
theory that Infiniti's will not make it and will go under here in the next may not see 2030.
Yeah.
I think that seems highly likely.
Yeah. It's up there with the everyone wants a full-size Range Rover theory, and that it's probably true. No one can prove it, but it's probably true.
There is no part of me. I had a Defender. I bought it brand new.
yeah, well-
There is no part of me that sits here thinking, damn, I wish I had a full size.
You drive a Sequoia with camouflage fender, so
can't
we don't need to.
I can't live in my community.
Yeah.
I cannot have a full size Ranger.
I bet there's one on every block.
There is not.
Absolutely.
I cannot drive a full
Okay,
size Ranger.
I'm gonna go.
I don't live in La
take
Jolla
a little
like you.
leisurely drive later.
Well, Nick has 2 properties, both at the beach, and and I'm not able to participate in any of that.
Right. I love solving problems, whether it's fixing the Countach with Doug and a couple of cold ones, or solving the latest squeak in my E39. Nothing is more satisfying than fixing something. That's exactly why I have been using Claude. For a recent complex project that Filippo had me work on, I needed to connect insights across a ton of sources. Naturally, that would take hours, but Claude found connections across 50 plus sources that I wouldn't have spotted myself. It doesn't just give me the answers, it helps me think through the problem. Claude is the AI for minds that don't stop at good enough. It's the collaborator that actually understands your entire workflow and works with you, not for you. Whether you're debugging code at midnight or strategizing your next business move, Claude extends your thinking to tackle the problems that really matter. Filippo also used Claude's artifacts to quickly build an ROI calculator for some of our corporate business meetings, something interactive that he could share the same day without having to write a single line of code. If you want an AI partner that helps you go deeper and actually extends your thinking, then you need to check this out. Ready to tackle bigger problems? Sign up for Claude today and get 50% off Claude Pro when you use our link, claude.ai/cars. That's claude.ai/CARS right now for 50% off 3 months of Claude Pro. Claude.ai/cars.
Okay, move on to the next news story. The GM EV1. Did you see this?
Yes.
I saw this, yeah.
Rich Rebuilds posted it, and I was really hoping he would have gotten it, but it brought in serious money.
So GM EV1 was General Motors' electric car in the 90s. And the way these cars worked, they were only leased to consumers. And then when the leases were up, General Motors bought them back or took them back. They didn't allow people to renew the leases. And they crushed most of them. It was the subject of this big documentary, which, of course, the documentary was, the electric car is dead. Of course, now EVs are everywhere. So it's not as secret and special and conspiracy as it once was. But a few of the EV1s were donated to universities. And there are universities all around the country that have them in various states of disrepair because it was cool for the universities and their engineering students to like check out at the time in 1999. But now the technology is old. Nobody cares anymore. EVs are everywhere. And in fact, they have a lot. Some of the universities, they're just sitting in parking lots. Like people approach them and see them, and they pass around on social media occasionally with flat tires and in this state. And so I think this car was at a university, and it has now been auctioned at some sort of auto auction in Georgia, and it sold for over $100,000.
It's like $104,000 if memory serves, which for these universities that have them sitting around, well, there's an easy way to get some.
Yeah.
You know,
well, the problem was the universities all had to sign an agreement with GM that they would never sell the car, and so I wouldn't be surprised if the new owner of this car finds himself in a little bit of trouble. Probably GM doesn't care anymore.
I can't imagine.
Remember when you weren't allowed to sell a Cybertruck and everyone was afraid to do that? And it was like a serious thing.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh, do we accept it? Oh.
Well, Hummer EV was my favorite because, like you said, what am I going to do? Not buy another GMC?
Right. What are they going to do? Stop you from buying a Yukon? Trust me, that ain't going to happen.
But I mean, I guess there are probably ways around it. They could probably gift it to someone else, and that party can then sell it.
The universities were not allowed to dispose of them at all, which is why they're in kind of derelict state at universities across the country. And I assume that this one was at a university that failed, like that went bankrupt or something. Yeah. And that probably is the only way that it happened. So there's nobody left for GM to go after at the university. But this will be the first EV1 in private hands since the time period. The only drawback is, does anybody care?
It doesn't seem like I haven't been able to figure out who won it yet, and that may come out by the time this is posted. But wouldn't this be the best way to start a YouTube channel ever? Because you get the restoration of like the interior with all the garbage in it, and like the exterior, and then you also get to see like how it ran, like take it apart, like engineering explain, like someone like that could really go into the battery.
You could do some great collabs.
Yeah,
engineering explain. You could do Larry.
Larry's got to do it.
Yeah.
Rich rebuilds.
You for a review.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe a little Tavares in there too.
You know, here's an interesting fact. I have to this day an original EV1 owner's manual at my house. Yeah,
cool.
I was on eBay in 2000. It was before I moved to California, 2016, late at night.
Yeah.
And it popped up somehow in my algorithm, and I bought it. It was like $30, and I bought it in 2 seconds, and I've had it ever sins.
I would love to see your eBay algorithm.
Oh,
license plates, owner's manuals, weird stuff.
One thing a lot of people don't know about this car is that I learned in the owner's manual. It had a keypad to start it. There were not keys.
Huh.
So
it's like here.
They're going to have to do an LS
like
swap.
A security code or something?
You typed in a code.
How many attempts do you get before it locks you out, I wonder?
It's explained. That exact thing is explained in the owner's manual. The owner's manual is great. It's got all these like hand-drawn images of the EV1 and, a person jumping out of the way or whatever owner's manuals have.
You know, it doesn't look that terrible, and it kind of looks like a Gen 1 Viper from that particular angle.
Yeah, there's a lot of Gen 1 Viper.
Like in a bad way.
Like a smushed, melted sort of way.
My presumption is this was on bill of sale. It said it had to be sold to a Georgia resident, which was odd. And the windshield's broken, which you're not unless you broke. When I was a student in Atlanta, there was one at Georgia Tech's campus that was just sitting in a parking garage unloved. Yeah. You break under the.
It kind of looks like it could be
just take it
plexiglass or something, which you could easily make.
It does kind of look like that.
It's fixable.
Yeah,
right.
Pretty cool.
Please, someone get this back on the road. Sell it on cars.
Someone
and bids.
will. I mean, to spend over $100,000, it's a museum. It's possibly GM themselves. It'd be cool if Jay was like, I'm sure he wasn't bidding on a random auto auction, but GM would never go after Leno, like if he bought it.
That's true.
And he'd be into it.
The bidding list would be a really interesting Rolodex to have.
Yeah.
Yes, it would be.
Yeah, would have been cool. Kennan, why didn't you drop the $100,000 on it?
Well, it's not really a
109, and then I think there was the buyer fees were another 13%. So you're really in like 120.
Nice value. Good value.
For a car that hasn't run in 25 years, and even then when it ran, it had a 100-mile range and like 90 horsepower.
Right, you could have that, or a 575. I think I'd pick the 575, but nonetheless, that is much cooler than a 575. Love to see it run.
I'd take the 575.
Yeah,
I don't know. It'd be cool to see an EV1 like doing its thing.
As you and I are learning with the A2 and Multipla, sometimes sometimes catching this is not worth the race.
And Multipla.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And Multipla. We'll circle back to that one.
Quite as exciting as we thought, huh?
Driving it to Long Beach both ways over the weekend, I'm good for a little while.
Yeah, that's the thing. And that's why I'm never doing it again. Okay, next news story. Nick.
This must be.
Yeehaw! This is mine. This is just a concept. It's probably not going to happen, although it should. And a real American truck company, not Toyota, has a...
Toyota builds the trucks with non-union labor. It doesn't get any more American than that. It doesn't get any more red-blooded conservative than that.
SEMA concept, so it's probably not going to happen. They did The Dude. It is a throwback to an old TV show or something no one really cares. However, there is a cowboy hat holder on the dashboard. I think it's brilliant, even if it's just a little theater.
Would Papa have put his cowboy hat on?
Papa had a 94 F-150, and I used to sneak out in the middle of the night, me and my cousin Andrew, and we would go do donuts in the cornfields and then return it. And I remember one time we got carried away and we had to basically zip tie the bumper back on and then just pray to God none of our parents noticed the next day. So,
Did he never notice?
nope. Mine was a Ford pickup.
Did you still go out and do the donuts after that?
Yeah, he had a lot of cars, so that was just the one no one cared about.
God, you've lived such a
The
storied life.
man had 2 Cadillac Elantes.
Wow.
So you
man.
think
North Star?
I'm the crazy one in my family? Someone had 2
This is
Elantes.
where it started. Cowboy
runs.
hat holder. So this is a concept only, Nick. This isn't gonna.
I know.
So
Although it honestly looks no different than like a cell phone holder here. Like this shouldn't be that hard to retrofit. I'm sure there is a startup on Alibaba or Amazon that's already
Or
producing these.
Stetson's going to bring one out, and
Yeah.
it'll be an accessory.
My hat's a Stetson. It would look good like that.
Ma'am.
Okay.
You could put your little child's helmet on it too.
It's Senna's helmet, for God's sake.
his literal helmet. He wore the.
Yeah.
He was wearing it when he crashed.
Must not have worked very well.
Oh my God. Nick, what's our next news story, please?
All right. Yes, this one's for me. So although this looks like a random drawing, this is very important. Ferrari recently filed a patent. Now, last week we talked about how Porsche was filing that patent for the W18 engine, which is very cool.
Yeah.
Ferrari, not to be outdone, also filed a patent, but this one is very interesting because it's about side exit exhaust, front engine side exit exhaust. Now, I looked a little bit more at the patent, and what's interesting is in a different picture, they have very clearly it's for a V12. There are 2 rows of 6 cylinders, and it all dumps out at the side. Now, one can only imagine that this will be for something in the Icona series, but that said,
Yeah.
automobile manufacturers file patents all the time. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to make a car, but if you had to bet on it, it seems like a front engine V12 with side exit exhaust, like an SLR.
I was going to say,
is
yeah, this
coming
exists.
soon.
Do you know anything?
I mean, mine's a V8.
You ever had a car with side exit exhaust?
I
Nick?
sure have. The Viper side exit. I mean, there's plenty of cars like.
Well, yeah, but this is in front of, like, yes, there are cars like that, but there must be something specific about the routing or like how
Yeah.
it's done with emissions.
Does it
or like
bother
that
you
specific-
that we both have V8 Mercedes convertibles with side exit exhaust?
I do want to get a picture with the SLR and the G500 together.
Yeah, it's
That's
sort of like
pretty-
the stepchildren.
What year is yours?
99.
All right, mine's a little newer.
That's such a Swiss picture. Like, an
Mine's a little
SLR and a G cab that feels very.
And the A2. We got it.
This is really cool, and I am excited to see what turns out from it.
I am too, and I think this made me think of something deeper too. It's like because we've kind of lost Ferrari. We feel like Ferrari's lost the plot with the supercar thing. 288 through the Enzo makes sense. The LaFerrari that all makes sense, and now it's gotten kind of weird with the F80.
Murky.
Yep.
I think that the Icona series is now the most desirable cars that they make altogether.
Well, sort of. The SP1 and 2 aren't desirable at all. So
Well-
you have this weird issue.
But if maybe yes,
Right?
I suppose
I desire them.
they're kind of the same car.
Do you?
Yeah.
You know what it is.
Yeah, no, I like the one-seater one version especially.
SP1. I like the SP1 and SP2 to be clear. I think in any V12 car with no windshield is insane.
I don't know if
can't believe
it belongs in that lineage, but
I drove it.
I
I thought it was
desire
the coolest thing I've ever
Yeah.
driven. But that's not literally cool.
Gotta wear one of these.
But it's not like the Daytona SP3 is like legit A.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if this, whatever this ends up being, if it's I don't know why they feel the need to have front exit exhaust, side exit exhaust.
we'll
but
find out.
Why not? So I don't know. I think I'm very curious to see if this car ever comes into existence, and if it does,
Yeah.
Yes.
it'll be cool.
Congrats.
Ferrari's
Cool.
SLR.
Congratulations, Ferrari, for inventing side exhaust. We're very proud of you.
The Italians would tell you we invented it. It's the exit at the front, at the side. This is what we make here. Yes.
They did have in the 50s some cars that had like pipes coming off them.
Well, they were race cars. You just,
Maybe that's what this would be.
straight to atmosphere.
Okay, give us our next news story.
Yes, Rolls-Royce. So this is the Centenary edition, or the Centenary edition Rolls-Royce Phantom. Now, they've done this before. They've done Centenaries for Rolls-Royce as a company. This is for the Phantom nameplate specifically.
Cool.
And and Rolls-Royce has gone to exceptional lengths to make this car something very opulent. So they're only going to build 25 of these to celebrate 100 years of the Phantom.
Yep.
And they've done a lot to the interior, not all of which I would call tasteful. This is what they feel.
Is that like a silver cloud on the seats?
So, yes. So they.
Is that an early, like an 05 Phantom?
So there are 77 different hand
You're
stitch
kidding.
motifs in this, and it's all
Wait,
supposed to be around.
77 in
In this,
In
just
one.
this.
Yes.
In
It's
one.
not you choose between 77.
No.
76 wasn't enough. They said our
The
buyers
research
demand more.
distilled 77 into this creation, which is, you remember the McLaren with the seats that look like someone crapped themselves?
Yeah.
This is
looks
not far
like
off being that bad. But
bad
it
street
doesn't,
art.
But it does not end there. There are also these separate panels that have like 45 different separate components. There's one on the dashboard that's like this. These ones are maps of their favorite driving roads, which when I think aggressive driving roads, what I want is a car that weighs more than a planet and has dinner plate wheels.
Wow.
Their favorite driving roads?
That's correct. It said specifically they're geographical maps with winding routes and sweeping landscapes, floral elements, and depictions of for their experimental motor cars. They're the ones that Rolls-Royce deemed the most significant, formative on their journey for the Phantom.
I will say it looks cool as hell, the exterior. They're only going to make 25.
I agree. The exterior is beautiful.
Well, yeah, but so the spread of ecstasy is made out of 24 karat gold.
Oh, God.
So it
I'm
makes a
good
truly
with that.
tasteless car. But the most tasteless thing about it is they said that these cars will sell for approximately $3 million each.
$3 million.
Wow.
Which is a lot more than a normal Phantom.
lot
It's
to
already a
tolerate
very
that
expensive
interior.
car.
So you could have that
Yep.
or a ratty F50.
Yep. And you get to stare at this.
Well, thankfully you don't have to stare at it because you're in the front, which hopefully doesn't look like
No, it's a Phantom. You're being driven. You're in the back. You're stuck staring at this crap.
Man.
So I don't know. It's one of the ugliest interiors I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But but hey, good for Rolls-Royce.
I'm glad they were able to distill it down to just 76, 77 motifs.
Right. Well, hey, for $75 million they'll bring in, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
Imagine you get just like a tiny tear in that upholstery.
Yeah.
Can you patch that up?
Right.
I've got to start over.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
But you could add some more motifs.
Yeah,
if it
that's true.
happened in
That's
20
true.
years.
It's like when you've got your whole arm with a tattoo sleeve, like you just
Then
keep adding more.
You're stuck with that.
Till it's all
I
black.
mean, this.
That would be the move, is just to fill the rest in.
Yeah.
Just like dump some black paint on it and you have black seats.
Well, these seats look like they're out of a bus, though. The
They do.
base cushion looks like that, and that looks like it's out of some
I was going to say,
Art Deco bathroom.
it looks like a 90s city bus.
It really does.
And then the regulatory seatbelts are so funny. Okay, is that the end of the news?
That's the end of the news.
Thank God. We have to move on to the Talk Car segment, which is huge this week because we have an actual spot. You know how I always say the Talk Car segment is sponsored by Filippo?
Brought to you by Giraffe Shirt.
We have an actual sponsor this week, and it's Piloti, and they make driving shoes such as these, and they are actually legitimately cool. They look good. Nick,
I'm
Nick
actually wearing
actually
them.
wears them.
These were not sponsored, which I'm,
Which is
kind of
evident.
bummed about. No, they've been eaten by my dog. But I bought them when I got the Murcielago converted to stick so that I could shift my gears and modulate and heel toe a little bit better with the little rounded
apparently
things.
that's the thing, that they have roll control heels, which actually help you heel toe. It helps like smoother pedal transitions to help you heel toe. We're going to drive this weekend. I'm going to wear these on the drive. I'm very excited for it.
You know what's surprising about them is I was like, oh, $200 for like a pair of driving shoes. I don't know, but they're actually really comfortable as normal shoes. Like despite having a flat bottom, like your heels don't hurt. So I wear them
But don't
all
you want
around.
to save them for your driving experiences?
No, I'm as my dog chewed up soul show. Like I'm wearing them as normal shoes. Which is
These
great.
shoes have a thin, flexible sole that provides for better pedal feel and feedback, but the comfort and support is also there for long drives, reducing fatigue. They are very cool. They look very cool. There's a bunch of different styles. Visit Piloti.com and use code CARSANDBIDS for 15% off. There you go.
No, there
I'll
you
give
are.
you 15% off.
Do I get that in arrears?
No,
Did you give me like $30?
you bought them anyway.
I know.
It sounds like you're due for a new pair.
They sent me these for free. How you feeling?
Give you $30.
We got a lot to talk about in the Talk Car segment. This is our most talkative
We do.
Talk Car segment in the history of Talk Car segments.
Okay.
I think the number one thing we got to talk about is, well, wait, let me do a very quick, the Countach I posted on Instagram that it broke down, it was fixed instantly. No big deal. And everybody's like, you were just saying it was reliable. Still is.
What was it?
You want me to find out for you?
I'd love to. I believe it was something with the distributor, I was
The
told.
distributor was, the drive gear on the distributor was stripped. They replaced the drive gear, reset the engine timing. They were able to do this. The car broke down over the weekend, and by Monday, it was all good. I'm going to do a whole video about it on my channel.
Okay, great. I look
But
forward
that's
to
the basics, and it was no big deal. And I want to say that.
A whole video on a 24-hour turnaround and fix?
Well, that's my
Sounds
point.
great.
Everybody's like, oh, you were just saying it was reliable, and now you jinxed it. As far as I'm concerned, if you're trying to daily-ish a 43-year-old supercar, to have one breakdown and the fix is like this 4 hours of labor, I still feel it's pretty reliable.
Right, it is, and ultimately, it also
After
kind
2.5
of
years.
It also kind of underscores like how basic that car actually is. It's not like modern supercars where figuring it out would take a team of engineers.
There's all these fears about this car, but like it's just an old car. Now there's some stuff that's real, but you address that stuff on your schedule when you're supposed to, maintenance. But repairs and stuff.
At the end of the day, it's not that crazy.
Especially a carbureted car, like same with my dad's 67 Mustang, like distributor cap, take it off, make sure it's not corroded, like clean them, put it back. Like it's...
You can fix that thing with a screwdriver and a hose pipe.
Couple of gold ones.
And Nick has done it before. He and Papa went out there.
We did.
Summer's over, and I was living in my chubby swimsuit by the pool. And I just kept the chubby love rolling right into fall with their everywhere pants. They're lightweight, water-resistant, and surprisingly durable. Basically, the perfect do-everything pants. Fellas, if you want to look sharp when you meet the family this holiday season, you've got to check out our friends over at Chubbies. From family dinners to holiday parties, Chubbies has you covered so you can focus on being yourself and letting the good vibes roll. Their stuff is so comfy, it should come with a warning label. As temperatures drops and weather gets grim, their flannels, pullovers, quarter zips, and everything else keeps you warm, stylish, and ready for anything. I really can't get enough of their pants. They've become my top drawer pants, perfect for everything from squeezing into small sports cars, ripping indoor go-karts with friends, then heading straight to a date after and still looking sharp. They just work. This holiday season, spread cheer and a little drip with Chubbies. Perfect for upgrading your own winter rotation or gifting it to that one person who already has everything. For a limited time, Chubbies is giving our listeners 20% off your purchase at Chubbies using the promo code Doug at checkout. But if it's Black Friday, skip the code and take advantage of even bigger markdowns during their exclusive Black Friday sale. Just head to chubbyshorts.com. Make sure to support our show and tell them that we sent you.
We got to talk about the SLR. You've announced on your channel that
the SLR, I'm no longer embargoing myself.
I watched last week's
in part
podcast.
because Hoovy broke my embargo. So
yeah, what was that? I watched last week's podcast and you weren't really hiding much.
No.
The car was sitting behind
I
you.
just didn't want to distract from the Murcielago while the auction was still live, and also I wanted to have a video to go along with it before I really talked about it. And both of those are true. So the Murcielago, we'll just quickly touch on that since it was partially discussed on the podcast, but got $290,000. The buyer is paid. It actually just got picked up like an hour ago by the shipper.
Going to Denver.
Going to Denver. An enthusiast bought it who has a 355 GTS, a McLaren 650, like a super cool guy. Him and I have been like chatting. He's very much of he's like, I create a 3-ring binder for every car. And like, so I've sent him all my service records.
When I was a child in Denver, seeing this would have changed my life.
You know what's even crazier? There's a guy 5 minutes from his house that has a Grigio on Terrace Murcielago Roadster that was also converted by Machina Motors.
You're kidding. No way.
5 minutes away. Huh. So they're going to have like twin cars basically. But
wow.
So that car sold. I was thrilled with the outcome, and now I can like focus on the SLR now that that's like off my plate mentally. And I cannot tell you how much I love the SLR.
I'm so thrilled to hear that because there's so much BS about the SLR out there from people who have never even been near one.
Yeah.
People who have never even seen one in their lives. And you've now driven one for quite some time.
It surprised me. I mean, having never driven one before buying it and it arriving, you expect a Mercedes. Like I was expecting an SL500, a grandpa car. I was expecting it to be like soft, floaty, quiet, compliant, like very usable, but like maybe boring.
Right.
And this car feels so much faster than the Mercy. It just like makes you giggle and squeal like a squirrel girl. Like I scared my wife. Like literally the first drive, she's like, please stop doing this. And she's ridden in the Murcielago plenty. Like she was as surprised as I was at just how fast and raw and analog it was.
At one point, Nick texted, we have a group thread, me and Kennan and a few other people. And Nick said, my life will be measured in I'm trying to find these. Yes. My life will be measured in pre-SLR. From now on going forward, my life will be measured in pre-SLR and post-SLR.
Yeah.
And you said something like, this is the greatest experience I've ever had or something like that.
It feels like a religious experience to me. I'm just, I'm getting like 4 miles per gallon because it's just like, and then like I just like giggle. Like I'm just doing that over and over again. Like I'm a boy who discovered his first.
What?
What, Nick? Finish the thought.
Dude,
toy car.
I'm so pumped for you. I think this is so great. I think the SLR is undervalued. I think it is cool as hell to drive. It's sitting over there. I think it is so cool to look at.
It's very special to look at, but what I appreciated over the weekend, so it was my birthday. My wife and I went out on a date. We went to pickleball. No one looked at me.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm used to, between the Multipla, the Mercy, even the Bentley, I'm used to getting stared at every time I go somewhere, and not a soul ever even looked twice.
Yep.
And so to me, that's wonderful because I can go places kind of anonymously, but at the same time, like if you're an enthusiast, you look at it and you're like, holy crap, that is neat.
It is a supercar that you can like really truly use.
Yep.
It is a very usable car.
They're kind of experiencing what he experienced with the Carrera GT, and that only the people who know, the people who'd actually want to have conversations with, as opposed to what do you do for a living and that sort of thing. Those people notice it, and everybody else just thinks
The
it's amazing.
drawback of the Carrera GT, though, is it's so much more fragile. And I think one of the cool things about the
this car's
SLR
pretty
is
stout.
you can use it. Like the approach angles, the departure angles, it's like a normal car.
It doesn't have axle lift, which is the only bummer relative to the Mercy. I might have scraped the front bumper just a touch. That said,
What's under there? Like the Countach is no problem to scrape. You just paint it every so often.
There's a little overhang of the bumper and then under trays from that.
Yeah.
But and I just got a little bit of the bumper, but it's going to Kevin for paint protection film tomorrow.
Oh,
so.
good. It doesn't have PPF at all.
No, and it's only got 4,800 miles. Like the paint's pristine.
I
It's
also
so
think
nice.
you just bought the perfect one because it had this electrical incident. We're not calling it a fire. There were no flames.
No. Just like Vietnam was a conflict.
A minor short, like I've had in my Bentley 3 times.
Because it had this incident, it's priced at a level where it should be a higher mileage car priced at that point.
Yep.
So you can really enjoy the miles without kind of worrying about, even though it's a super low mileage car.
And ultimately, the condition is excellent because it hasn't been driven.
The silver is beautiful.
Nicest car I've ever had.
The lights are nice.
Hoovy took good care of it, despite his reputation for being a hoopty guy. Like, it needs nothing. It came with the Fleetwood Mac CD in the trunk. Like, I'm thrilled.
Hoovy and April out listening to Fleetwood Mac.
Steely Dan, he blames the previous owner, which was Wayne Carini and Dennis Collins. However, somewhere along that lineage had some boomerish taste to music, which I don't mind. Steely Dan's not so bad, but
Next time around, listen.
No offense, Kennan. I assume that's what you listen to.
You're correct. It is.
I checked it out. I didn't hate it.
Steely Dan is on the soundtrack of my life.
All right.
Absolutely.
Oh my God. 2 guys from Ohio talking about Steely Dan. How lovely.
I'm so thrilled though. And it is funny because you and I have joked that, hey, on the podcast, we say what we're looking to buy, then the cars kind of find us. And that's what happened with the SLR. And I hope that happens with you and your 993.
Folks, I'm ready to get a 993 turbo. I'm ready to get an Arena Red 993 turbo. I was on the 993 forums the other day, and somebody posted all proudly they had just bought a 993 turbo. They had just begun living the dream, the fantasy.
There's pre-993 turbo, Doug, and there will eventually be post-993 turbo.
I went to Radwood over the weekend, and you ruined it for me.
Oh,
because there was one for sale with the for sale sign at 200,000 miles. Literally everyone came up to me and say, hey, Nick, or whatever. They said, hey, did you see that 993? You should text Doug. You should text Doug. And I'm like, I have. He's seen it. He's not interested. It's too many miles. Please, introduce yourself, something else. No, actually, legitimately, though, Radwood was amazing, and people were really nice.
GM EV1. The number of people who sent me the GM EV1. When you get to be like a figure, which you're now, as far as I'm concerned, the number of people you can. If an SLR is in the news, you're gonna get hundreds of people. Everybody that you've ever met or heard about is going to send you and be like, here's something, and you're going to have to politely reply to
on the third podcast we ever did or whatever, I mentioned the Volkswagen Golf W12. Hundreds and hundreds of people send me
it is helpful.
Instagram posts on
it. Is helpful. When I said I'm looking for a multiple, a lot of people did reach out and give me some legitimate leads on it. So it is good. It's a lot.
Yeah, I love it. I'm very happy people think of us.
Okay, tell me about the 1990s car show that you went to over the weekend.
1980s and 90s?
80s and 90s.
It was actually really, really fun. What I learned about Radwood is, we go to a lot of cars and coffees, and there's Ferrari 458s everywhere, and you kind of get numb to just seeing supercar after supercar after supercar. Radwood brings out the best kind of enthusiasts and the best kind of cars. I mean, there was everything from a 1980s Ram pickup that was just Survivor, bone stock, to lowriders with graphics and body drops, and there was also some nice cars, like the Peterson brought out an EB110, a 959. The Multipla was there, parked between the porta potties and a Testarossa, which
Where it belongs.
I loved it. And Art, the director,
It's like a
Yep, it's a graph. It's like the ascendancy.
it's a
You start
gradual.
with
The
crap,
porta
you
potty,
end
the
up-
multiple, the Testarossa.
I think it was intentional, and I love it. Like, so everyone there has a sense of humor. The people there are so nice. It felt like a more diverse crowd in a like very, very positive way. Like, people are just into different. Like, one person came up to me and goes, "You mentioned on the pod an Acura Vigor, and then put on the screen a Legend." And they were like, that really bothered me. And I'm like, that is the type of person that goes to Radwood, you know? Like, that is a real enthusiast, and I
be
loved
honest,
it.
For whoever that was, that bothers me too. The Vigor, as we all know, was a 5-cylinder.
Like an Audi.
We've had some 5-cylinders.
Yeah,
me and
we
you.
have. All right.
Yeah.
Double dab.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a thrill. I did not win anything,
I
which
was going to say, you didn't win? The last time you were at Radwood, you won.
I did. I was hoping for a two-peat. I think I needed like graphics and a little bit more 90s flair, although I wore neon green hammer pants, a pink ball cap. Like, I tried really hard.
I agree with your assessment of Radwood. I think Radwood is a super fun event. I've only won to one because they're
This
always
one was
in
way
LA.
better than the last one.
The one I went to was when you showed your
Yeah.
XP8, your Saleen Explorer, and you won with
Yeah.
the best SUV, right?
Yeah, Radis.
At Radis SUV, and it was a killer. My Countach won Radis car at Radwood 2018 or something.
There was
like
a 40th anniversary there.
Covenant.
that. 40th anniversary.
25th anniversary.
40th.
He's still a Mercy.
I know.
He's a Mercy guy at heart.
He really is.
But it is such a fun show. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you something, as a guy who like really lived through that era and is into those and has driven all the supercars, the stuff that's more appealing to me
Yeah.
now is like the Survivor Caravans and Acura Vigors and things like that.
Everybody took care of an F40. So few people took care of those cars, and that's just really catches your eye when you see a clean one.
Yeah. Yeah, and there was everything there was like just
And that's what I remember from
Really
going
cared
to
for.
the one that you and me went to when he was showing his car.
Right.
Like clean, like Mazda 626, like stuff
Yeah.
that just shouldn't
Remember two
have been saved.
Remember two things about that. That, and on the way there, we saw a 355 broken
down on the
360
freeway.
LP,
Yeah.
and you said to me, "Are you sure you want to buy a 355?" And I did anyway.
It wasn't even Radwood related. It was on the 73. It was like
Yeah.
2 hours before
But
Radwood.
they were headed. Well, I think I know where the 355
think so?
Yeah, absolutely. They would have gotten there about the same time. I think it was
Orange County.
Yeah, it was Orange County.
I was pleased. The Multipla, despite it being like a lot of time in that car, it does freeway speeds fine. Like it got me there and back without issue or drama, which it is not. A lot of folks there, like the one guy was like, I had a broken foot. I drove down from like Seattle or somewhere crazy, and I realized mid-drive the cruise control didn't work.
Oh.
You know, like people really sacrifice to get their cars there, and I'm like, yeah, it was like a hour and a half leisurely drive in the morning. Like,
And the Multiple is
pretty
so cool. It must have been a huge hit.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people came up, super excited.
People who
about it.
knew about they've been watching, or they're just people who are like, who are you and why?
I
did
think
you do this?
both. Yeah, I mean, a few people came up to me like Crazy Nick, and I'm not used to being recognized or called crazy by strangers, but like
Get used to it.
that was really fun. And then other people are just like, what on earth is this thing? And then you get to explain it. And I just hung out around the car most of the time, watching people engage with the car and be impressed by the car, and it made my day. Like, I had such a fun time.
They look
I'm
cool.
glad to
I'm
hear
sad
it.
I couldn't go. I was out of town. I love Radwood. I love going to Radwood. And if they ever did one in San Diego,
I know.
it would change my life. They think SoCal is LA. What about us?
It is just far enough, especially since you can't leave early. So if you're showing your car, you're committed
The whole day.
So I left at like 7:30 a.m. and I think I got home at 6.
Yeah, that's the problem.
It's a long day.
Speaking of the whole day, Kennan has an experience that he did. Kennan went
Yes.
to Mexico City this week for the Formula One race.
Yes, as I mentioned, I went to see the Grand Prix from our friend Kevin's bachelor
Yeah.
party, and you couldn't be there because you're out of town. You couldn't be there because it was your birthday, but it was awesome. We had a great time. Mexico City is an amazing place, and the car enthusiasts in Mexico City are wild. Like there's some great stuff there. A lot of it is hidden, admittedly, but like there's some amazing cars there. We just went and got dinner at like this buddy that was just like around, and we were talking to the it was an expedition, an Eddie Bauer. Expedition
nice,
drove by.
nice.
And like we were all freaking out over that, and they like knew we were car people, so they like brought their phones up and like showing us cars, and it was like they're flipping through and like McLaren, Pierce-Line, whatever, and then E39 M5, and I lost my mind, which I was thrilled about. But we went to the race, and the race was so much fun. And in case you don't know, the circuit cuts through an old baseball stadium, so it's like the actual track goes through the middle, which is really cool. And it's very hard on the cars because you're at high elevation, so brakes are cooling is a problem in general. So they run like special engine covers with like just huge slices in them. The race itself wasn't super.
I saw a track
exciting.
marshal almost got hit. Were you there for that?
No, that was a different corner, but that was crazy. And that was like the FAA is investigating that and how that happened. it was a wild race. A lot happened, but the coolest thing I think that you two would appreciate at the beginning was the driver parade. This happened there are a number of manufacturers, obviously make cars as well in addition to race cars. So they put the drivers in equivalents of what those cars are. For McLaren, they had an MP4 12C Spider for some reason.
Because it was local.
Because it was local. But you know what else was local? An F50 and a LaFerrari Aperta. And so Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc were in the blue carbon F50, which everybody was freaking out about, like, oh, it's the rare blue carbon. It's like, well, it's modified. The car started out its life red. But it was, nonetheless, it's like, we didn't know it was going to be there. We just saw this F50 on the track. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then they got it and just like sat on the engine cover. And
I saw that. I was shocked by that.
Because, I've held
But that's
one
like
of
how those driver
tonneau
parades
covers.
go. They sit on the car.
And the LaFerrari Aperta too, because the Ferrari engine powers some of their cars. Like there were drivers in those too. But like, it was just like so cool to see.
Does
the
it
cars
trouble you that the highlight of the Formula One race was when a street car drove around the track?
Well, and as an F1, a real F1 engine, something you can
Real
aspire
F1
to.
engine?
Yeah.
Just like my career.
My highlight of that photo was Max Verstappen just behind the F50 in a Ford Mustang base model that looked like he went to Hertz, and they're like, "Oh, for $10 more, you can get a
What was that
convertible."
about?
I don't know.
Like, why did they not try it all?
Use local people's cars.
Yeah,
Yes, and admitted, I mean, not all of the manufacturers then make those cars. There are like engine manufacturers, like your SLR could be a Formula One.
be a
so you
lot
could do
cooler
that.
than a
Dude,
V6
when
Mustang.
Cadillac's running, they're going to have people in
Well, that was the other thing. The number
DeVille's.
Yeah.
Because Sergio Perez,
Alonso.
the Mexican driver, is going to drive for Cadillac next year. The number of like Cadillac hats and things you saw was intense, which is cool. I'm excited to see another team on the grid. Two technically, Audi's going to replace Sauber, but nonetheless, it was like, the race was exciting for me, and that a Ferrari finished second, which is kind of sad. That's what we have to celebrate, but that's their first podium of the year, which is kind of sad.
Is that true?
It's not their first podium of the year, but it's like it was looking like they were going to we're going to have a Lewis Hamilton 2, 3, like Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. Unfortunately, Hamilton ran a penalty, 10 seconds, didn't end up on the podium. But nonetheless,
Nothing like
Ferrari
a good penalty.
But they didn't win, which was sad. Lando Norris won the race, but we were really hoping Ferrari would win. But nonetheless, they at least were standing on the top steps.
I'm proud you went. I'm glad you like Mexico City. I think Mexico City is one of the coolest places. My personal take on the car scene in Mexico City was not as positive as yours. Though I did enjoy the smattering of Dodge Neons from all generations.
I enjoyed that too. Saw a Neon SRT4, which is very cool.
Wow.
Yeah, real in Mexico City.
But I deeply love Mexico City, and it sounds like a cool place to go see a Formula One race.
Oh, really cool. And I highly recommend that if you're a Formula One fan, you've never been to a race, find one that is accessible to you. I highly encourage you to look at going to foreign countries. It's expensive to get there, but once you are, the tickets aren't so bad. But it's so cool to see the cars and hear the cars and smell them and like the whole thing in person. It's a much different experience, and everyone should do it. If you
You've
can.
been to a Formula One race?
I went to Vegas for FP1, and that was the year that then someone ran over a manhole and they shut it all down. So I saw like a lap of a free practice 1, but that's it.
But you got to meet David Coulthard, didn't you?
Yeah, no, yeah, it was. We were like VIP with the whole trackside
That's
thing. So
legit.
it was.
Next year,
great.
let's you and me go to Vegas together. Just the two of us in your SLR.
There's still time.
Oh, okay, this year. Anyway, Formula One, Kennan saw an F50. That's the highlight of the Formula One experience.
That's
pretty
a pretty
good.
good weekend.
It's pretty good. And we celebrated Kevin. That's what really counts.
I got two talk cars things I want to talk about. Can you pull up the slides, please?
Yes.
That's a Mercedes GLK.
I've seen
Aware.
one.
By the way, these talk car segments are only for the viewers. These two will not care about either one. I'm doing these only for you watching at home. This is a Mercedes-Benz GLK. I was in Washington, D.C. all week. Not a lot of cool cars there. So anyway, Mercedes-Benz GLK, normal GLK, regular model, base model GLK 350. Except, look a little closer, Kennan. There's a picture of the GLK on the GLK.
Well, that's suspicious.
You ever see that before?
I have, because you texted it to me 2 days ago, and I didn't care then.
I'll tell you something that's
Still
weird.
don't care now.
If you're a car enthusiast, you still don't put a picture of your car on your car.
No, because I remember what it looks like.
But if you have a GLK, you especially don't put a picture of your car on your car.
But it makes me wonder. We had that GOK with the V8 swap. The guy did the manual
Oh,
thing.
you think that's this?
Well, this guy might be an enthusiast. Maybe it says
There's
350,
no
but maybe it isn't.
enthusiast who owns a GLK. There's not one. I don't
was
even know
one.
how you'd get one of these decals.
You have some crazy shirts of cars that are very obscure. You're right, though. I don't know what's going. I'd love to know the story.
How do you, if you have a GLK, how do you care enough to put a? GLK sticker on your GLK.
Doug is the kind of guy that
Clearly love it.
Would put a GLK sticker on a GLK, but I would
Yeah.
never have a GLK in the first place. I promise you, 90% of people who have GLKs don't know what they're driving.
Yeah, that's probably
Period.
I love the
that was
GLK.
just what was in stock.
Or like what their parents bought them as a
Right.
used car, because this is a $7,000 used car now. Please bring up the next slide, which is this. Now, Nick, are you aware of why this is special?
The wheels imply that it is a heavy-duty version.
The wheel, very good. That's very good.
That's all I know.
This
And
is a guy
those,
who grew up with horses.
those windows also look to be like bulletproof or
Yeah, it looks armored.
If you spend any time in Washington, D.C., you will see armored, heavy-duty Yukons and Suburbans. They're
Yep.
common. However, this one is particularly interesting, and you'd have to have quite an eye to notice. And there'll be 9 viewers who are going to be like, yeah. They never made, GM at any point in the history of the Suburban, never made a short wheelbase heavy duty. But this is a short wheelbase heavy duty. And not only that, but it's a Denali.
Yeah.
So some bigwig is getting driven around in a non-existent short wheelbase heavy duty and in a Denali.
Yeah.
What is our tax dollars aren't going to put these people in base models anymore. They want luxury. This is a crazy car. If you're into these like heavy duty GM SUVs, and there is a group of people who are really into them, this is a really unusual vehicle.
It looks weird being that short.
It does look very weird.
Heavy duty
Like
shouldn't be
schmuck.
that short. The 8-lug wheels, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's also bulletproof, but a lot of these big SUVs in DC are bulletproof. But this is a really unusual car to see a shorty heavy duty and to see a Yukon being used, or for a Denali being used for this purpose.
Yeah. You know what they're not using? Toyota Sequoia. You know why?
Why?
Because they want an American car.
You know, the Sequoia, that's actually an interesting point. The Sequoia is built in the United States, and so it would qualify for the Buy American Act. They should be using Sequoias.
I think it's great that they're using Denalis. Big fan.
They're driving. You're cool with the fact that they're driving around in ventilated rear seats.
I mean, it's not like it's an IQ. There's levels. It's not a Range Rover full size, which is what they really wanted, and they settled with the Denali.
What do you think,
Solid
Papa? What do you
callback.
think Papa would say about his tax dollars going to buy these people luxury products?
He would say, at least it's not a Cadillac.
At least it's not a Cadillac.
It is never a Cadillac. That is,
I have driven thousands of Cadillacs.
Yes.
Well, hundreds.
but it's the same thing. Denali is an Escalade.
Yeah, but
This is a cool car. If you're into this stuff, please leave a comment and make sure and let me know that I'm not the only one. Our Talk Car segment is done. Oh, unless you want to talk about the A2.
So the Audi A2. So I was here late at the office the other night, cleaning the M5, getting it dialed in, and then I went to leave and it was very misty. And I don't like to, I had just spent hours making the car perfect. And I was like, oh, I could drive whatever. But then I noticed that the Audi A2 was looking lonely in the car.
Yeah.
So I
That's what
grabbed
it's
the
for.
keys.
It does
And I was
look
also
lonely,
like,
too.
you know what? It needs to be driven because you're not really driving it. And neither is anybody
There's
else.
no, not really. I filmed one video with it and I haven't touched it since then.
Right, so
to all
what-
those who believe that it's my car.
Right. So I went, it's the company's car. So I went and drove it with those embarrassing plates that you
welcome.
got. And it's a perfectly acceptable, boring car.
Yeah.
I really love the shifter. The clutch is not very good. It's well made. It's well thought out. And I thought it was actually kind of enjoyable. It was fun driving a little car for the first time in a long time. And it's very odd. It has some odd things. When you downshift, it won't let you do full throttle to like blip. It like limits how much you can do. You can only do like a third throttle. It's like
Doesn't want you to get
what?
too crazy.
Right.
Too bad they didn't have that in
How
the-
gets that's crazy.
Yeah.
Take it.
Maybe it's
easy.
just that slow to rev.
No, well, that too. But I actually really enjoyed driving it, and it is
Well,
nobody notices it. Like it's,
No, yeah, for sure.
No
Everyone
one
enjoys driving it the first time.
Yep.
maybe if it's misty again, I'll drive it a second time.
Not worth it.
Not worth it. But I enjoyed it. Needs windshield wipers and alignment, but outside of that, it drove pretty
It
well.
drives much nicer than the Multipla. However, the Multipla is weird enough that it at least evokes like joy and
Well, I am curious
surprise by
about
people versus the A2 is just like forgettable.
I am curious about that because it sounds like you're kind of implying that.
I mean, I'm daily driving it, so unlike and I have had some people like actually stop like in traffic in a turn lane and be like, "Oh my gosh, I've been wanting to see that." So like, it's fun to daily it for that perspective, but like. The Bentley is like if I'm taking my kids somewhere, like that has 600 foot-pound of torque and is like actually fun to drive. The Multipla is like it's 100 horsepower diesel.
What
like
is
it's
the
not.
latest on the Bentley, Nick? Is it running?
It's on its third mechanic in 3 months. They texted today. It's been there a week saying they're going to start work on it today.
This is why I
it-
never want to own an Ornage.
It's going to be sold as soon as I can get it fixed, which
God.
may never happen.
What a
You might just be
disaster.
stuck with this.
It is as bad as everyone warned me.
Well, you bought a bad one also. I understand
I
a new one, a nicer one would maybe eventually
Do
get to
you-
this point. And
do
you
you-
worked on it with the battery plugged in.
Will you
Yeah.
admit now that maybe going the Doug route sometimes and buying a nicer one so you don't have to do all this BS maybe is a good idea?
But this one was purple.
There'll be no get
Purple, no reserve. It was a deal.
It was a deal because
deal.
it was trash, and it hasn't run right since you bought it a year ago.
It ran well for a couple months until Sean borrowed it.
Dude, you're going to get destroyed.
I'm going to get destroyed. I thankfully walked away with the Mercy with a little spending change in my pocket.
It's all
it will
going to the-
cancel out the
But
Arnage.
see, if you had just spent up the equivalent amount that you
Yeah.
spent on a nice Arnage, you wouldn't have
I
had
agree. But then what would be the fun in that?
a functional car.
I could go buy a Denali and whoop-de-doo.
I agree with you that it's more enjoyable for the content to have a car that has some foibles.
Yeah.
But your Arnage
Yeah.
has not been running right in a year.
I've driven it like twice in the last 2 months, and both times were to or from a mechanic. So yeah, I mean, it's a little tiresome.
Okay, we got to move on to the market report, which we don't have much time for because the questions this week are very good. Let's talk market report, and specifically, Nick, start us off with the R63.
Since I got the SLR all of 2 weeks ago, I've been obsessed with the idea of getting an R63. What I have found is
Why? Because you want like to be a Mercedes.
the ultimate two-car combo. I would ideally like silver, but what I found is there were not many R63s to begin with. So often there's none for sale, or there's like a one for sale. Most of them are miled up, meaning well over 100,000 miles.
Yeah.
A lot of them are modified because like it was mostly owned by enthusiasts at this point. A lot of them are wrecked as well because
Yep.
they were not preserved. You
Yeah.
drove them. So usually it's 100,000 miles plus, an accident on the Carfax, some mods that are questionable. This has none of that. It's 60-some thousand miles. It is
It's a
no
nice car.
accidents. They did the head bolts. It
did?
is beautiful. Yes. So
Wow.
like this is I won't say once in a lifetime opportunity, but it's one where find me another one. Find me another one this nice. So I want to buy one, but it's also, this is like the opposite of my Bentley. It's too nice for me, the SLR owner,
you
to
could
afford
use
it.
this though.
Oh, and it's got 3 rows. I mean, this solves every problem I have in life and
Well
then
then,
some.
are you going to bid?
I'm just going to comment and pull a Filippo here.
Really? Because this it's a pretty. That's a Filippo.
That is a Filippo.
I should bet on it.
Well, why not, Nick? You're about to sell the Bentley, in theory.
Yeah, I mean, I really need to sell the Bentley first.
Yeah, but these never come up like you said. So I looked it up. They
Yeah.
sold 113 in North America, and they only and 2 other good things about it.
Yeah.
They only made about 200 globally, so it's super rare. And it was built in Alabama, so Papa would be happy.
Papa would be very proud. The important part too is, I forgot. There was an important part to it though.
You're
But-
not interested in this? Seriously?
I'm very interested in it. I think it will set a new high watermark for the R63 because it is so clean compared to a lot of the other ones that have
I
sold.
wish it had the original wheels. These are GL63 wheels, which probably fit the R63 a little better. However, I really love.
Yeah,
finding a set of these is like, I mean, there's only 200 of these cars, so it basically.
Right. But also, I mean, this one we sold last year, Nick, and this was 35 and had 140,000
Yeah.
miles. So, like, you're right. It
They
could be a
often get
little-
miled up. The one that I did a video on, which was years ago, it was this like Ukrainian dude in Philly, and it had a rebuilt title and a ton of miles. But it was like an R63.
Yeah.
It was what I could find.
It also feels like this is the ultimate Multipla. Like it's kind of the same shape and ugliness as a Multipla, but with the 6.2 liter V8, you know,
Yep,
like
I
how
agree.
awesome.
I agree. I will tell you, having driven one of the few people in the world who has.
Yeah.
It's not a dynamic masterpiece.
It's just a minivan with a big engine.
That's probably why people mod them is to try to make it a little bit more engaging, like an RS6 where it's
I do think it's cool as hell.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
so cool. I've only ever seen 2 my entire life.
I've seen a very, very
it
one in
seems
my
like
hometown.
a lot of them that I've seen across the web sell plus or minus 40, which is still a lot of, I mean, it's a lot for this era 6.2 AMG otherwise.
A lot of an E-Class, an E63 sedan is like a 15 car.
And an R320 or whatever is like
Yeah.
a $5,000 car.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think this one will do much better than that, just given how well kept it was. And people that aren't as stupid as me buying a beat up Bentley that will pay an extra for that. A premium.
On the subject of Mercedes-Benz, I want you to bid on this car, legit. I think you really should. This will hold its value like crazy. The head bolts are done. You're going to regret not buying this car if you don't buy it.
I am going to regret buying it.
Another one will not come
buying
up for over a year.
Think about how cool we can look at Car Week rolling deep in this thing.
It's so
You know,
cool.
Mercedes themselves brought one to Car Week last year. Remember? It was
That's
a red
right.
one.
That's
So
right,
of
they
those
did.
200, Mercedes Corporate of America owns at least one of them.
And it's 200 globally. It's only 113 for North America.
Yeah.
And some of them are
So
probably
it leaves 112 for the rest of us.
and apparently 7 of those were in Canada. And Alabama Bill. Non-union.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to talk E55 real quick. We just sold a really nice, you can just type E55. We just sold a really nice, this one, a 2001 E55. 01 is a facelift car. Scroll down, it was like 60,000 miles? 70,000 miles. Very low. For this powertrain, that's like barely getting broken in. It was, so facelift cars were 01, 02 only. 17 grand. This car is still a bargain. I think.
Yeah.
I owned one of these. It is the car that I most think about that I sold. It is not my yellow Defender, which was so associated with me. It is this car. I loved my 210 E55, especially one that hasn't been miled up, which is getting harder and harder to find, and especially not a pre-facelift car, which just wasn't as nice inside or out. This is a really nice car, really good miles, and it's only 17 grand.
Yeah,
It's fun to drive. It's reliable. It's fast. It's better than an E39 M5. There's a lot of great things about it.
Every magazine test from the period disagrees with that, and so do I. But it is
For 17 though.
But that's the thing. E39 M5 values have gone.
What would a 72,000 mile nice E39 M5 sell for?
35, probably more than that, maybe for an 01. But yeah, I mean, I agree. I think the 210 is one of the most compelling cars Mercedes-Benz made. I think they are dramatically undervalued, and they shouldn't be.
They're getting harder to find in nice shape.
They're
and
really
they've
hard.
come up. Like I bought basically this exact same car in Atlanta 12 years ago for 12 grand.
Wow.
They've come up.
Barely.
But not much. Not enough.
Inflation has kept pace with that. So.
Look at the interior too. These interiors hold up like shockingly well. I don't necessarily know that they hold up in terms of design and style, but the materials are high quality. They're really nice. And they generally don't get a lot of the cracks and stuff that you see in the 124s and even some of the later cars. Right. I love these things.
This one's worn, but not crazy.
No.
But and it just looks side profile. Look at those.
Yeah, the wheels are great.
Truly,
This car drives great too. It is a great powertrain that just feels smooth and powerful at all parts of the rev range. Yeah. There's no waiting for a turbo to spool. There's no peaky BS like in certain other brands' cars from this era.
But I love these cars. My grandfather had a 210 E420. Yes, GD, we called him for Granddad GD. He had an E420 for the longest time, and I always looked at the 55 and I was like, oh man, I wish you got the 55. But I love the 210. They're so solidly made, and I just adore those cars.
I think it's incredibly cool. I can't believe they're still only this much money. I thought they were going to take off, and that was going to be that, and they never really
The transmission is not inspiring. I think that's
it's not. But I would daily the hell out of this car. Like, it's not a car I would take on back roads or whatever, but if you're looking for like a fun daily, it is reliable. It is holding its value. It holds up well. It's not that expensive to own compared to a lot of other AMG cars. It is a very reasonable car for this money. I think it's, if you got 20 grand and you wanted a fun daily, buy that. Or a Z06. Kennan, you got to give us your market report, 512 TR.
Oh, yes. We have a very cool 512 Testarossa on the site. Now, I always love the 512 TR. I think the improvements they did to this car dramatically changed the Testarossa platform. They lowered the engine because they got rid of the subframe that sits in, so it handled much better. They've added magnesium wheels, much better suspension geometry, revised the styling a little bit. Much better car than
looks
the earlier
better,
Testarossa.
interior's better.
It just
power.
is better.
Yep.
But the interesting thing about this one is that it is a Euro and it has miles on it, quite a few miles, 120,000 kilometers. Good for the guy who drove this thing, which is nuts on one of these cars. Because think about how many times that engine has been in and out and in and out of that engine bay for belts. Probably quite a lot.
This car, despite the plates, which are from Vienna on Austria, it is in the U.S. It is on a U.S. title.
Yeah.
Yep. It's in Washington, I believe.
And
Washington State.
What a crazy thing.
What a crazy
No
thing.
comps.
No. Chris Harris's 512 TR has a ton of miles on it, too. I think...
Oh, those pop-ups.
Like 150,000 kilometers or something.
Wow.
So, and he drives it a lot. That great view of him sliding around the south of France. But I think this is such a compelling car. I'm really curious where it ends up because 512 TRs are really valuable cars, in the 300s regularly.
But almost all of them have very
no
low
miles and are U.S. cars. So I'm very curious to see where this one ends up. But it's really appealing to someone who likes to drive cars like me.
I agree. I am very curious to see also. It's at 105. It just goes listed.
Yep. I love high mileage Ferraris. My 355 had a lot of miles on it too. So I'm very curious to see where it ends up. And God, it looks good.
Those side
It does look good. On to the questions. Questions. The questions this week are sponsored by Piloti. Now, they're not actually, but you know what? God love them for sponsoring it.
God love
So
'em.
in addition to sponsoring the Talk Car segment, we're going to give them a little bonus. They're
Wow.
sponsoring the question segment too.
Size 11.
Grazie mille. Size 11.
Gotta eat, you know?
What would you do with yours?
I'd wear them.
You go drive.
But what would you do with the existing ones that were chewed by the dog?
Well, I'd just get a different color.
Okay. So you already even
Like
have the shoe.
brown?
This would just be supplemental, really.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, some people have more than one pair of shoes.
Yeah, true. Okay, there's great questions this week, and we don't have as much time for it as I wish we did. First question from Ford Prefect. Question for Kennan.
Yeah.
Kennan, as much as you like the NA Miata, why not just go ahead and get one? The purchase price is low. It isn't going to lose value. It'll keep miles off the M5. You'll have a great time driving it. It's cheap to own, and Emily is sure to love it.
All very good points. I think the reason is that I like cars with very big engines. It's a kind of type of car that I like. My M5 has a large engine. Other cars I'm looking at have very large engines. The Dodge Viper has a large. I like lots of torque and power. And admittedly, that's the complete opposite end of the spectrum of what an NA is. The other thing is that like I can kind of own an NA whenever. They'll always be around, and I want something that's a little bit more esoteric and admittedly to me like something that I just like lust after a little bit more. I love the Miata. I suspect I will own one and maybe an S2002 at some point. For now, I'm kind of focused on, I just want something crazy.
That's all reasonable. That is a reasonable response. Nick, why don't you have an NA Miata?
I don't have room.
Doesn't have room for an NA Miata.
arc
That's how you
is
know
full.
I've
you have a
got
problem.
like 6 cars right now.
That's how you know you have a problem. If you don't even have room for an NA,
Yeah.
Right.
there's issues.
Right, yeah.
I would like to at least experience a Miata more, and I think if I ever started tracking more, that would be my easy first choice.
Yeah.
Just like a good track toy. But
Well, I mean, yeah, those are just-
the person asking the question is correct that you do want to buy that now. Like when you do have kids and dogs and stuff, like that suddenly becomes a lot more limiting versus if you're just a single dude and you're driving an A2 because it's misting out, a Miata might be a decent choice.
Of course, he says this since he's had kids, he had
Right,
an
he's had
R8, a
more-
Murcielago, and an SLR.
Right, he had way less cars before he had kids.
Yeah, I don't know what
So
he's talking about. I
interesting.
will say he's talking about getting a track car. Remember, this dude money shifted and dropped
Yeah.
a motor, and he's over here. I want a track car. Be careful. I
Wait,
would.
you money shift the Miata. It's like a $300 repair bill. They got
That's
those
true.
engines at Pep Boys, you know?
Next question from Charlie XC90. Question for everyone. You are all relatively similar ages, and I notice you tend to think the peak era from the car was the 90s and into the 2000s, due to them being the perfect balance of modern and analog. Do you think you would retain this opinion if you had been born earlier or later? Yes, that is objective truth.
I understand where they're coming from, but I having thought, I'm lucky enough to have experienced cars from the 60s and 70s and earlier, and it is a really finite period of time where they became really. It was the perfect cross section of everything, and
Fast, reliable,
good,
and yet not hybridized
right,
automatic.
not too big.
Oh, you're
analog,
arguing
yeah.
that you would still be interested in the 2000s era series.
Absolutely. I think objectively looking at the entire history of the automobile, I think it was a really golden time that people don't appreciate enough.
I think the 60s were also.
The 60s were also because of regulation for design, and they were
Design
crazy.
is unbelievable.
But you can't argue that cars in the 1960s weren't exactly what you call reliable compared to modern cars later.
And that's the benefit that the mid-2000s cars have. And the reason that we don't like newer, which I think is really the implication of the question, what if you were younger? Would you be like into the 2010s? Probably. You don't know any better. That's what youth is. However, the best cars came out of the mid-2000s.
I agree with you all on the premise that those were the best cars to me too. 'Cause we're
I
all the
think
same
it's
age.
objective.
No, again, Papa, rest in peace. He was into 30s town cars and such because that was like of the era. My dad and his generation is super into muscle cars in the 60s.
Yeah.
I do think that there is like an outlier decade that it's usually when you were in high school,
Yes.
it was those cars
course.
plus or minus. So
Yes.
like those, and I do think like, okay, that will happen again. But like, I think it is a function of when and where you were born.
I see. That's what we're arguing is that it isn't in this case. Like
I know,
we're looking at-
I'm counter arguing.
I understand. And I get that argument, and I think it's totally reasonable.
Yeah.
I think it's wrong.
I think it's wrong.
I think that
I
if you
just
really
think that the mid-2000s had this thing that nothing else in in the history of the car had previously ever had. In the 60s, they would have thought they had it too.
well, yeah.
Because it was as reliable and as fast as cars become. But we now have the benefit of hindsight.
Yeah.
We know what happened after that, which is the 60s. You look at the 60s and you'd say these were the best cars. The 70s cars were terrible. Even most of the 80s were pretty bad. And so you'd say the 60s were this amazing time. But we're now 20 years removed from this mid-2000s period, and I wouldn't say that the things that make us love the mid-2000s cars have gotten better in terms of cars.
No.
The analog has been lost, the screens have taken over, the electronics have taken over, automatics have taken over, hybrids have taken over, and to me, that kind of goes back to suggest that this mid-2000s was sort of the 60s on steroids. It was like all those 60s cars that were amazing, but now modern and great.
You know, really, I was driving an E28 M5 recently, and a video will be coming out about that shortly. I'll talk about it more later on, but there was a period of time where like you got to the 60s and then the 70s cars got bad. It was like, if you look at it as like a curve, right?
Yep.
And then you went up, and then from there, every successive car got better and better and better. The next one was going to be better than the one that came before it. But that really did hit a plateau. And that's kind of where I think we are now.
In our opinion. Now, he's going to argue that, well, if you're a teenager now, you think the Revuelto is the coolest thing ever made.
And it is cool. Every generation has their pinup Lamborghini. Yeah. That is true. But I think for someone to actually go and drive and use these cars, I think you'd be more blown away by the experience of some of the older stuff.
do think from a driver's perspective, it's hard to ignore that the cars more recently have become more sanitized, more plug-in hybrid, more automatic.
Yep.
And the mid-2000s cars gave you a similar, fast, but still had all those benefits. And I think that's where they really hit.
Two things here. One, we need to start our own event that's like Radwood, but only for 2000 to 2009, give or take.
That would be awesome.
They cut off their era at 99, which is like right when things started to get good.
But I think that's part of the point of Radwood.
Like
the point of Radwood
if you
is
got
that
an SF90, we are sending you away.
We're .com wood.
But if you were around from the .com bubble to Lehman Brothers going away, you are welcome to.
I think the point of Radwood, in part, though, is to celebrate kind of the two unloved decades.
I agree, but I'm just saying, if there was a show that was only like 2000 to 2009, like, I would travel great distances.
It wouldn't be cool enough yet, though. There's too many of those cars still like around as traffic.
Maybe.
We need another 10 years.
They also bend it a little bit. Like the E39 came out in the late 90s, and so they include those usually.
But don't you also think
360,
Lehman Brothers going away ruined the party, all the collateralized debt obligations and so on. Had that not happened, right, because that was when the Mercy SV came out, this SLR 722 and other icons of that era.
The SLR
722. Think of it every day.
Exactly. So had that not happened in an alternate universe, and we would have just kept iterating from there.
Maybe.
The CEO killed.
Maybe. There was always going to be an environmental component. And honestly, I think automatic transmissions were always going to start showing up because the cars had gotten so fast.
Yeah. You know what you kind of regret in hindsight too is that the single clutch, like E-gear style cars didn't extend longer because those are swappable. And had we just stuck with E-gear for a while,
we hadn't complained so much.
We could have manual Aventadors.
Well,
we could have manual.
You know,
the Aventador is a single plate.
Let's end on this.
Oh yeah, you could.
Let's end on this. The Aventador is theoretically swappable.
It is. I don't know why that doesn't exist yet. Especially
because
since there's way more of those than there are of Mercy, Diablo, and Countach combined.
I'll tell you why, though. It's because there's no center console, right?
Oh.
But
we could fabricate one of those.
we could fabricate one of those.
We can make it. You could put it like the CGT and just replace the Audi MMI screen.
I'm telling you, I realized that
I don't need that anymore.
I realized that the Aventador production was greater than all of the V12s combined that came before it. But I do think there is something very special about that car. If you could convert that would be one of the coolest cars on the road.
That's the corollary to my Range Rover full size. Everyone also wants an Aventador deep down. They don't admit it, but they want one. Look at that. Look at that picture.
It looks cool, but I'd rather have a Countach. But
of course.
But Okla, legit. This car's swappable.
Yeah.
And someone someday is going to do it.
I'm not going to get on it.
I'm a buyer.
Yeah. Because talk mid-2000s, I mean, this was actually the last.
I wonder what the holdup is, if it's also like a TCU.
I think it's entirely the center console.
Software and the center console.
I don't think the software has that much to do with it. Your car is
Speaking of all of your experience swapping cars.
Because in what I learned from your auction is it's just a manual transmission that they automate.
Right.
That's the same thing. It's no different.
Well, yes, but there was a manual that pre-existed in his car, and like the software for the computer can recognize that.
Well, but you get in there with a couple of beeps.
Just like how you thought you would program the site yourself back in the early days.
You saw Camisa this weekend on Instagram with his Radio Shack voltmeter. He gets in there with his Radio Shack voltmeter. He reprograms an Aventador.
Couple of beep, pop, boops, and then he's there.
I legitimately think that an even harder component of this is the center console situation more than the transmission. I bet bet they'd figure it out.
And metal.
Someone will
cut it.
figure it out, and that'll be amazing.
Yeah.
Well.
Okay, we have to end here because Kennan has to take off his racing suit.
Yeah, I'm stunned that it's cold.
You
down
look
here.
good in it, though, I must say.
Thanks. The colors are great. I have to say.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. Nick, thank you for coming. Thank you for gracing us with an SLR.
I feel good about that. I am very sad. I can't believe that the Murcielago getting picked up was 5 minutes before we started filming. Like it started me a little sad.
What an end, you know?
But it's an end of a really great era with the Mercy. I'm gonna miss that. But
Meanwhile, Kennan's taking off the jacket. He just did.
Well, it's flame retardant. It's hot.
He just did the Kazakhstan GP, and he needs to. Is
Yeah.
that one of them?
No, but the Phoenix Grand Prix, and it did drive at the Phoenix Grand Prix. So
Arizona?
Yes.
Yeah.
wow.
That's a real thing.
That's a real.
That's where the Carrera GT's V10 went, wasn't it?
Yep, the footwork V10. That's right.
Okay, we're done here. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Goodbye.